Okay, so I am currently in the middle of writing an absolute monster of a script for my Scarlet Hollow video. It's currently at 41 pages and I'm not done yet, it'll probably be at least 50. So I decided to kill two birds with one stone because I don't want to deprive people too long of my fabulous voice and objectively correct opinions, and I also needed to rewatch Zootopia 2 for the follow-up to my fantasy racism video. Since I just finished watching that, I figured, you know what, let me get my feelings about the video off my chest, and then when I do make the follow-up video next month, I can just focus on what I need to for that. Because Zootopia 2 is, thematically speaking, a very frustrating movie. That's not to say it's bad. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, it's fine, honestly. There's plenty to like in there, especially if you're a furry, because apparently furries really like that movie. Or at least liked, like, one specific character I'll get to later. But as, you know, a media critic slash video essayist, I care about themes and stuff like that, and the movie was just really frustrating on that front. Which is why I'm doing a video like this on a movie I've watched twice now instead of like my first impressions like I did with Godzilla Minus One or Iron Lung. I might do more videos like this more often, honestly, and I don't know, we'll see. The point is, Zootopia 2. So, okay. So from a thematic standpoint, there are two main conflicts of the movie, that being the interpersonal dynamic between Judy and Nick, and the racism allegory that is the entire reptiles plot, along with the Linksley family, which is just, we'll get there. Actually, you know what, let me get some just random thoughts about the movie off first. This movie is very unfocused. Like, it's very funny at times. There's a lot of jokes I really liked, especially the puns, like the piggy mobile at the front and like all the pig puns. Immaculate, I love that kind of thing. Puns are the peak of humor, and if you don't think so, then you're wrong, I'm sorry to tell you that. And there are some moments that I thought were really cute or sweet, and some things that are, I don't know. There's plenty to like in this movie. But the movie really has a focus problem. The first movie, for all of its faults, was at least fairly focused. I've criticized the racism metaphor it has, but at the very least it did, you know, focus on that for the most part. Again, execution notwithstanding. But the second movie is just so all over the place that it's kind of... The movie has this issue where it keeps using humor like jingling keys, and it keeps taking away from the emotional moments, and it's kind of annoying at times. And the problem is that the movie just never calms down, really. It's always go, 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 and there's very often way too much happening on screen. And like, you know, you can argue that it's a kid's movie and all those things, but like, kids have taste too. Kids can tell when something isn't being done well. And the lack of focus is just a problem for the movie because there's nothing to really rein the writers in anywhere, and that's especially true for the two core thematic, I guess, parallel stories happening. The Nick and Judy thing is... it's really not handled very well, I gotta be honest. Judy has this issue in the movie where she just keeps throwing herself forward into things and not thinking about the consequences or caring about them, and dragging Nick into it and expecting there to be no problem whatsoever, and she's kind of the worst. Like, she has this whole thing where she keeps talking for him and over him, and even when she's called out, it doesn't stop. She just keeps endangering people's lives, and this was something that she did in the first movie too, but with the whole Voltown thing they did with the giant donut and all that when she was chasing down Weaselton. And you'd think this is something that they'd be, you know, exploring more in this movie, but they kind of don't. It's just go, 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 moving on, and because there's never a moment to stop and, like, examine their emotions or their motivations outside of this really rushed double confession between her and Nick at the end, where it all just comes pouring out, and it should have been, like it all comes pouring out in, like, 30 seconds, and like it's something that should have been built up. It's something that should either have been a multitude of smaller moments that build up to a larger one, or it should have been like one longer drawn out scene where they can really emotionally connect with each other, but instead they're both just like verbal diarrhea, having an entire therapy session with each other. back and forth, and it's kind of just doesn't work.
I have unresolved childhood trauma that I refuse to discuss because being vulnerable scares me.
I make dangerous choices because I have an unhealthy bunny hero complex.
And I didn't join the ZPD because I wanted to be a cop. I joined because I always wanted to be part of a pack.
Because they just spent the entire movie with Judy steamrolling over Nick on every opportunity and treating him like he's being the problem. And this movie, like, shits on Nick a lot. Like, everywhere he goes, he's just getting, like, everywhere he goes, he's either the butt of the joke, or he's getting shat on, or just whatever it is. And he's treated like he's the unreasonable one for calling out Judy's reckless endangerment of herself and him and everyone around them. Like, the opening scene is her not following orders and endangering everyone, and then them being put in partner therapy because she just cannot calm down. And the thing is, Nick is right. Like the movie treats the fact that Nick isn't very emotionally honest as if it's an equal problem. And, you know, it is a problem that he just is never emotionally sincere. But that's nothing compared to the fact that Judy nearly kills them and other people multiple times. Like jumping into the drainage pipe. Like, they set up, like, that safe word thing, and then she ignores it every single time. And then she treats Nick like he was in the wrong and he needs to apologize to her for the loss of the perp when she nearly drowned them both. And then they get to the lodge and he's like, and he tells her, like, it's not worth losing your life over this. And then she's like, maybe we are different. And again, it falls completely hollow because there's no build up to it, and you don't get to actually see the interpersonal drama from it because immediately they're attacked by the police, and then they get knocked out, and Judy gets taken away, and they just don't follow up on that until a half hour later when they're doing the verbal diarrhea. And it's treated like Nick has just betrayed her in some way, when no, he's right. She is putting people's lives at danger. This is an actual problem with the police in real life. She may not have a gun and she may not be shooting minorities, but she is still acting in reckless ways that put people in danger, both herself and others. She has this suicidal drive to endanger herself to prove herself, and it goes entirely just unchecked at all, and Nick is treated like he is the problem by her, and then her treating him like the problem is vindicated later when the villain fucking says it isn't worth it to him. Like, fuck you. Like, fuck you, writers. Fuck you so much. Don't you throw his words back at him. Don't put his words in the villain's mouth. He was trying to keep his friend from killing herself, and the movie treats it like Pawbert is some dark reflection of him by using those words. And just fuck you. This movie is actually really, really mean-spirited towards Nick for no reason. It's weird. I think the reason that all these things happen is because the writers are afraid that if they actually stop and examine Judy's behavior, the audience will not be on her side. And so they have to keep pushing forward faster and faster and do all these things, just juggle around it. They have to just sort of squirm around Judy's behavior to make it not seem like she's being an irrational, suicidal idiot. And it doesn't work because she is. And so they're not allowed to have a slow emotional moment where, the two actually talk things out and stop for 5 seconds to discuss the problem, because if they do, she'll have to admit, no, I am being a dick. She'll have to admit that she's being a danger to everyone else. She'll have to admit that she's being a danger to herself and to Nick, and that she owes him a huge apology. And I think the writers are worried that people won't like her if they do that. And I would like her a lot more if she did that actually, because it would show actual character growth and self-awareness, and it wouldn't just steamroll over Nick's very, very legitimate and reasonable concerns for his friend. And so they have to keep making him the butt of jokes, and they have to treat him like he is a parallel to Pawbert somehow, because otherwise people won't be on Judy's side in this. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if you want to make the story work, this approach doesn't make sense, and it's so frustrating. Though on the subject of Pawbert, I mean, I really wasn't surprised when it turned out he was the villain. It was kind of obvious. Disney's been really into twist villains lately, in case you haven't noticed. And he kind of seemed like the obvious twist. Like, you just look at him and think, oh, you're the new Bellwether, okay. Maybe I just have trouble switching off like the analysis part of my brain because I find that very fun. But like, I don't know, the twist villain alarm bells were just ringing in my head the moment he was on screen. I don't know, let me know in the comments if like he seemed obvious to you or not. And like, even before I watched the movie, like, I knew who he was because, I mean, I'm on Twitter and Tumblr and all that, and just like, the furries were blowing up about him, and starting this movie, I could not see why he didn't seem like the kind of character that they would be. He didn't seem like the kind of character that would attract that much attention.
I'm gonna destroy it. For the family. For you, Daddy.
And then he said daddy with such desperation, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can see why now. The furries do love themselves some daddy issues. It's funny, like, rewatching this, I've been working on the script for the Scarlet Hollow video for a while now, and like, abusive family is like a big theme in there, and so it was really, really weird to go from like all the nuance of that and all the interesting things done with that in there to Pawbert just being like, I just want to be part of my abusive family. It is also the most hilariously literal Freudian excuse for a villainy that I've ever seen in my life. If you don't know, the Freudian excuse is the trope name for when writers give a character a messed up childhood to explain why they're evil now, and it's just, whatever. That feels like, with how self-aware and irreverent Disney writers have been lately, and often to their own detriment, this feels intentional in a very strange way. Oh no, Pawbert is kind of just there for me, there's nothing really special about him. Anyway, that brings us to the whole racism thing, and okay, it's kind of better, kind of worse, because the entire thing is, it's a stolen land metaphor, and that's what it is. It's like, there's no subtlety there, it is just stolen land and land back. But the problem with it is that the reptiles are not a cohesive thing. When I found out that the movie was going to be about reptiles and snakes and all that, I thought, you know, that makes sense because in the first movie they use the word mammals instead of people or even animals, which feels weirdly exclusionary. And so they decide to kind of explore that avenue in the second movie. But the thing is, like, the snakes are coded essentially Native American, in that they are villainized, have their land stolen, all these other things, and it's largely about getting them their land back. The entirety of Zootopia is built upon what they built there. That is pretty obvious Native American coding for a people that are not visually coded that way at all. But the rest of the reptiles are all coded like Latinx, like they have Danny Trejo voice the one guy, and it's just... And like a lot of the rest of the movie, it feels very confused and like it's only really there for comedy's sake. I don't know, it's really weird. Someone brought up on my fantasy racism video in the comments that they heard the theory that it's supposed to be a metaphor for like Palestine and all that because, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the father of the Linksleys has a Jewish name. And at the time, my answer was, I don't know, maybe I have to think about it because I was on 4 hours of sleep, and then I thought about it for 3 seconds and I thought, no, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. I'm going to go into it in the actual like follow-up video, which is coming out next month, because I have too much to work on right now. But the short answer is no. That is very clearly not it. And not to be that bitch, but Milton is not a Hebrew name at all. It's not remotely Jewish. I actually have a lot to say on that whole line of thinking in the other video, I just do not have the energy to go into it right now. Oh my fucking god. So yeah, the movie is just frustrating from a thematic standpoint because it's a mess. The writers just don't focus up and they just throw things in there and they're far too... And like, Nick is still like weirdly casually racist. Like he makes that whole joke about how you can never tell the gender of a snake. And like considering the first movie was trying to be about how stereotypes are bad and all these other things, the fact that the second movie falls back onto like beavers eat wood and all these other things. Oh, and like the movie also has like the conspiracy podcaster end up being the good guy, which is so fucking weird because in real life they are not the good guy ever at all. Holy shit. It's so tone deaf. In real life, Beaver is the person who is attempting to rally people into hating Jews or black people and trying to radicalize people into racial hatred. That is not... But in this, she's just like an actual expert. Oh, and then there's Watertown, which is just like an array of really non sequitur jokes about everything. And it doesn't tie into the themes of the movie at all, because if we're supposed to believe that the Linksleys are pushing out people that they consider lesser than them, and that's reptiles, most people don't know that reptiles are even in Watertown, apparently. Like, they're just looking down at mammals they consider lesser than them. Which, if the movie was actually about being an analog to white supremacy and how it is an Ouroboros that consumes itself because all fascism needs an enemy to keep functioning and to keep power. And so, as you get rid of other groups, you will eventually turn on your own, and that circle will get smaller and smaller until it destroys itself. That is the natural end result of all fascism. It is just ultimately self-destructive because it needs an enemy. And you can only get rid of so many enemies before you have to start manufacturing more and more, and it's just going to destroy itself. But that's not what the movie is going for. Like, it doesn't even really go into, like, the idea of supremacy. It's just like, they want the territory, so they're pushing everyone else out. And that's not really racism, the way that the movie was supposed to be about. The Linksleys are just dicks. Oh no, this movie is so lacking in focus, and if the writers would just put on ADHD medication and someone took the jingling keys away and slapped them with a rolled up newspaper every time they were like, and then another reference to something in real life happened. Like fucking Burning Man. It could have been something good. As it sits, like, as a work of entertainment, it's fine, but like, from a writing standpoint, it is thematically awful, and it's just a bad sequel. Holy shit. Okay, let's see, was there anything else? Oh yes, apparently a whole bunch of people were like scouring this movie trying to find like any proof at all that Nick and Judy were like romantically intertwined. And I find that very, very fucking funny because there's like 3 or 4 different times in the movie where it just lampshades that whole thing. And it makes everyone involved uncomfortable. And like, I know shippers are some of the most like delusionally single-minded people on earth, but at this point it's like, come on, honey, it's time to let it go. There is a platonic explanation. The bunny and the fox are not gonna fuck. At some point, you just gotta move on and let it go. So yeah, those are my unfocused, unscripted, rambling thoughts about the movie. Like I said, I'll expand on certain things when I make the follow-up video. But for now, hopefully this tides people over while I get the Scarlet Hollow video done. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about a movie that was just stuck in my brain, and I hope you all have a good day, and hopefully I'll have a new video up for you fairly soon. Alright, love you, bye!